The wealthy measure time differently than most people. While others count paydays, they quietly count decades. Most people wake up thinking about this week. The calendar bends around Friday and money becomes a sprint. The wealthy wake up thinking about a different horizon. Their mind stands 20 or 30 years ahead. That single shift changes everything downstream from it. It changes how they spend, wait, and handle setbacks. By the end of this, you will see it clearly. You will understand the temperament behind real wealth. It is rarely about strategy or secret information. It is the length of the timeline running inside. Short timelines create panic, urgency, and impulsive choices. Long timelines create patience, perspective, and steady calm. Most of us were trained to think in pay periods. 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out, then repeat forever. That rhythm feels normal, but it quietly shapes everything. It teaches that money is a wave that recedes. The wealthy were trained early to think in seasons. A season is longer than a paycheck, slower, forgiving. When your unit of time grows, your decisions grow. You stop optimizing for Friday and start serving tomorrow. Imagine two people staring at the same bonus check. One sees a weekend, the other sees a seed. Neither one is smarter than the other in that moment. They see the same money through different time. That is the core of the temperament we are decoding. Wealth is often a side effect of long horizons. Now notice how the short timeline actually feels inside. It feels tight, reactive, like always catching up. The long timeline feels almost boring from the outside. But inside it feels spacious, with room to breathe. That spaciousness is not a trait you were born without. It is a posture toward time anyone can practice. Watch how a payday thinker spends a windfall. The money is gone before the deposit even fully clears. Watch how a decade thinker spends the same windfall. They ask what role this money plays in 20 years. Same dollars, same human, completely different inner clock. That clock decides far more than income or intelligence ever could. Consider how the wealthy respond to a sudden market drop. Most feel a lurch and want to act immediately. The long-term thinker barely flinches at the same headline. They have seen this movie many times in decades. That calm is not coldness or denial of reality. It is the confidence of someone not betting weakly. Short timelines magnify every small bump into a crisis. Long timelines shrink the same bump into a dot. This is why panic is so expensive over a lifetime. Panic forces decisions that only fit ending Tuesday. The wealthy assume the world will keep turning tomorrow. They assume next year arrives and the decade after. From that assumption, a different kind of patience grows. They let good decisions compound without checking roots. Most people, by contrast, dig up the seed each week. They check, worry, tweak, and interrupt their growth. A decade-long mindset stops that constant nervous digging. It trusts that quiet consistency beats frantic activity. Think of someone planting a slow-growing oak tree. They water it, step back, and let years do work. That is what thinking in decades looks like in practice. Patient watering, not gardening drama, repeated after excitement. Picture a quiet evening when bad financial news breaks. The payday thinker checks their phone all night, restless. They refresh charts, read panicked posts, lose hours of sleep. That morning they feel exhausted, anxious, and tempted to react. The decade thinker reads it once, then makes dinner calmly. Nothing about their 20-year plan changed in one headline. That one difference, repeated across thousands of evenings, compounds. It becomes the gap between exhausted hustle and quiet stability. Now contrast that with payday thinking in everyday life. Payday thinking asks what money does before weekend ends. Decade thinking asks a much quieter, stranger question. What could this become if I left it alone longer? Both questions are valid in their own particular way. But only one is friends with compounding, building wealth. There is also a hidden emotional cost to short timelines. Even at high income, paycheck thinking keeps you braced. You can earn far more and still feel as tense. The timeline did not grow, only the passing numbers. This is why some high earners feel secretly broke. Income expanded, but their internal horizon never stretched. The wealthy temperament does the opposite trick instead. It stretches the horizon first, lets numbers rearrange beneath. Stretching the horizon starts with one quiet, honest question. What would I do if I waited 20 years? That question feels almost uncomfortable when first asked. It exposes how much money is pre-spent before arriving. Try sitting with that discomfort instead of escaping it. Inside it is the doorway into a calmer relationship. Notice that none of this requires a high salary. A modest income held long beats a large one short. That truth is deeply unfashionable inside a fast culture. But the wealthy keep proving it decade after decade. Their habits look almost embarrassingly simple from outside. Spend less, automate the boring part, then walk away. The reason it works is not financial, it is psychological. Simple habits remove drama that drains daily resolve. A short-term mind craves drama because drama feels productive. A long-term mind accepts real progress looks invisible. Let me pause and ask you something gently. When you think about money, how far ahead does your mind travel? Is it the end of the month, year, or decade? There's no wrong answer, only useful information. If you feel comfortable, share that honestly in the comments. Your reflection might help someone else recognize their timeline. Then come back, because the next part really matters. We will look at why long timelines are so hard. The honest answer is that the world is engineered against them. Every screen rewards the shortest attention span possible. You are nudged hourly to think in tiny minutes, then asked to make decade decisions with that restless mind. The wealthy quietly protect themselves from that constant pull, not by being smarter, but by slowing financial attention. They do not check everything every single morning. They do not let headlines rewrite plans made in calm. That restraint is itself a quiet, underrated form of wealth. The ability not to react beats clever moves. Most people underestimate how powerful inaction can really be. Doing nothing on purpose is often the highest skill move. But inaction feels strangely wrong to a short-term system. It feels like laziness, missing out, falling behind. So short-term thinkers stay busy in unhelpful, draining ways. They tinker, switch, chase, and undo their progress. Decade thinkers learn to redirect that busy energy elsewhere. They pour it into work, relationships, health, not portfolios. They let their money be boring on purpose every day and spend their interesting energy on life that responds. That single reallocation can change a whole human life. Boring money plus interesting living beats the reverse. Notice how subtle this whole temperament really is. It is not loud, flashy, posted, or designed to impress. In fact, true long-term thinkers often look ordinary outside. They drive normal cars, normal homes, and compound silently. Their real wealth is hidden mostly inside their temperament. You cannot see restraint, but you see the calm. That calm is the real signal worth studying carefully. Not the lifestyle, just the steadiness underneath everything. So how do you actually start thinking this way realistically? You do not flip a switch. You stretch slowly. Start with a single question each morning when you wake. Will this choice still look wise 10 years out? That single question alone begins reshaping your everyday decisions. It pulls your mind from urgency into perspective. Some choices that felt urgent will suddenly look small. Some that felt boring will look quietly worth protecting. Next, practice delaying small money decisions on purpose. Not because delay is virtuous, but because it trains patience. A 24-hour pause before a purchase is rehearsal. You teach your mind that time is a tool. Then practice imagining your future self in vivid detail. Picture them at 50, 60, 70, asking what helped. That future self is who decade thinking actually serves. Every decision now is a gift or theft from them. The wealthy mindset treats that future self as completely real. Most people treat the future self as a stranger. Becoming friends with your future self is the real work. It is unglamorous, almost spiritual, more powerful than tricks. Here is the part most people get backwards entirely. They wait for wealth to arrive before practicing the temperament. But the temperament has to come first, not after. A calm, patient mind is what makes wealth even possible. Wealth without temperament tends to leak away quickly anyway. Lottery winners and sudden earners often prove this painfully. The money arrives, but the timeline inside stays short. Short timelines spend whatever long efforts deposit into the account. Temperament without wealth still feels strangely steady inside. The calm itself is half the reward available right now. You will notice something interesting as you practice this. Money becomes less emotional, even as it matters more. The drama drains out of it slowly over time. What replaces drama is something closer to quiet respect. You stop chasing money like it might escape from you. You start tending it like soil meant for decades. And slowly, the short-term fog begins to lift entirely. You see spending as scenes in a much longer story. That story is the real point of all this work. Wealth is not the ending. The temperament built is. Because temperament travels with you absolutely everywhere you go. It shows in work, relationships, health, and hard days. A person who thinks in decades is genuinely hard to rattle. They survive setbacks that have not happened yet. That is the real gift hidden inside this patient mindset. Not just more money, but a steadier mind today. There is also a quiet practice worth trying tonight. Before any money decision, ask if your future self approves. If yes, proceed slowly. If no, simply wait longer. That single filter, used often, rebuilds the entire timeline. Notice you are not being told what to buy. You are simply being asked to consult someone who matters. That someone is the person you will be at 70. They are patient, grateful, and quietly counting on you now. So if you take one thing from this, take this. You do not need more income first, need timeline first. Stretch the timeline, and the daily noise loses its grip. Stretch the timeline, and patience stops feeling like punishment. Stretch the timeline, and you join a small, quiet group. A group who stopped chasing paydays and started lasting. You can begin today in the very next 10 minutes. Pick one money decision and view it from 10 years. That single act is the beginning of the entire temperament. Repeat it often, and your relationship with money changes. Take a moment now to consider honestly where you stand. What is one decision this week you could see longer? If something comes to mind, share it kindly in comments. Your honesty may be the nudge another viewer needs. If this perspective resonated with you tonight, consider subscribing now. Ring the bell so future reflections find you again. We explore this calm, patient temperament here every single week. No hype, no shortcuts, just quiet conversations about wealth. Thank you for spending this slow time thinking with me. Slow thinking in a fast world is already wealth. Remember, the truly wealthy are not chasing the next payday. They build a life their future self will thank. You can begin building that same kind of life tonight. Now with a bigger paycheck, but a longer, kinder view. The temperament is not inherited or reserved for lucky few. It is built slowly by anyone willing to stretch time. The decades are already coming, whether you plan or not. The question is whether you arrive there as friend. Choose to be the friend waiting on the other side. Start thinking in decades and let paydays take care.